All right, Daily Ticker Time on a Wednesday, brought to you as always by our good friends at Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise your glass, drink on. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. Joining us now, as he does every Wednesday, is the commissioner of college football, the man behind Josh Pate's college football show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock, our time live on YouTube, at Josh Pate, CFB on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Josh Pate, ladies and gentlemen. And Pate, we're already running late to you. I have no time to fart around here. We have been yelling at each other for basically back-to-back segments about everything college football. I used to be a West Coast guy that stiff-armed the SEC bias and said, this is ridiculous and I'm tired of it. And I think I'm like a zombie that at this point has been eaten and now I'm one of them. And I no longer fight against it. You closed your show on this last night, and we have a lot of people, arguing on text lines, and the SEC stuff's nonsense. I want to allow you the floor to our West Coast audience to speak to this perceived notion of SEC bias that is in existence.
Well, there is SEC bias in the same way that there's like big man bias in the NBA. We kind of have to discuss like why the bias exists. It's not like we've gone blind resume, and if your mat dot happens to be in the southern United States, you automatically have baked-in value in the eyes of a rankings committee or the eyes of a pollster. It came from somewhere. So that's the first thing. Then we can talk about what the somewhere is, and we can talk about whether it's fair or not. Is there preferential treatment given? Of course there is. I give preferential treatment. I give benefit of the doubt to SEC teams when I'm ranking teams. I would just ask this. For anyone who has a problem with that, what properly calibrated rankings system or ratings model that is in existence and accurate does not currently have a whole bunch of SEC teams in the top 17 or 18? So I'll tell you, I've got, I think, 8 of them in my top 17. I looked at Bill Connolly in the S&P Plus yesterday. He's got 9 of them in his top 17. You saw what the committee had last night. Only 1 in the top 5, for the record. I wonder, for everyone who complains about it, there's a big difference in it shouldn't be this way versus I don't like that it is this way. Those are 2 very different concepts. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, as I said on the show last night. Personally, I don't think I should have to slow down to 20 miles an hour in a school zone. But I do it because I understand that there are reasons why those speed limit signs exist. So does it not make you feel good, or do we really think that it shouldn't be that way? And if it shouldn't be that way, then someone else has got to tell me how it should be, because this is not professional sports. You are not merely what your record says you are. And anyone who convinces themselves otherwise, I think, is being dishonest.
I don't disagree with the overall theme there. I guess my question would be for the Indiana or the BYUs, or let's use Colorado or whoever it is that's in an ACC, a Big 12 conference. How do you fix this then? Like if Ole Miss is allowed to lose at home to Kentucky and look awful in the process, but then like 3 weeks later be allowed grace back in and say they're a top blank team, or LSU can lose to a very bad to mediocre USC team but still be given grace before getting their teeth kicked in. How do these other schools, or what could they possibly do in other conferences to maybe kind of be given the same grace to a certain extent? I don't disagree with your BYU stuff that you said last night, but BYU can't control what their conference is. They can't control who's good at recruiting, who's not good at recruiting. All they can do is win, right? But they're not going to be allowed any grace if they lose even a game, even if we both know they're not as good. So, like, what can these other schools and other conferences do then?
Nothing is the uncomfortable answer. Nothing.
You're the commissioner. Fix this. What are we doing?
To go back. Oh, no, I tried. Your commissioner tried. Trust me. I've been on this show many times. And what did I sit here yelling about? I yelled, do not realign these conferences. Do not restructure the sport, because this was the end game. So you asked that question there. And it's like opening the book to chapter 10 and starting on chapter 10. The answers are in chapters 1 through 9. When we didn't do anything because I didn't want it to happen, but when certain powers that be took sticks of dynamite to the sport and restructured it this way, then that was the end. So the answer then to the question of, well, what is a BYU supposed to do? Nothing. It's out of their control. They can't do anything. And here's the crazy part. Indiana's in the Big Ten. And yet even Indiana is stuck with a schedule this year that's not their fault, but it's also not anyone else's fault. that just so happens to feature one quality team, like one highly rated team, and then otherwise it is of Sun Belt caliber. Literally, they are playing a Sun Belt caliber strength of schedule this year, so it's a one-game season for them. Is that fair? Of course it's not. And does it match up to what the standard is for an Ole Miss? Of course not. Ole Miss can afford to lose a game because they have other high-caliber games that, if they win, can redeem the loss that they had earlier in the year. That's the unfortunate part, that I think if you're just driving by the sport and you're not immersed in it, it seems so unfair. Well, it is unfair. It is absolutely unfair. But I can't go back and change the past. You guys know as well as I do, hey, I fought tooth and nail not to make it change before it changed. But now that it's changed, if you're just trying to put together the most logical playoff selection methodology for this year moving forward, there is no answer for Brigham Young. You lose and you're done. It's like Herman Boone and Remember the Titans. You lose a game, they'll fire you.
Go be perfect. Josh Pate is our guest, the commissioner of college football. His show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock, live on YouTube. Catch the podcast wherever you find your podcast. Give him a follow on Twitter at Josh Pate, CFB. On this note, we can't solve the issues of the past. Let's try and solve the issues of the future, Commissioner. This is becoming a glaring issue right now, and that being conference championships, how we decide who plays in them, tiebreakers, the impact that they have on the playoffs. I think there was an anonymous SEC coach who had a quote today saying, let's go back to divisions, which makes me have these weird visions of now Iowa being back in a Big Ten championship game, and that makes me uncomfortable. Looking to the future, is there a way to fix this? Is there a way to put this genie back in the bottle, or is this just kind of what we're stuck with?
Well, I mean, I think we're suggesting something very dangerous here. We are suggesting that the people who control college football don't understand how college football works, and that's not a leap I'm ready to make. I think the smartest people in the room are the one structuring this sport, and I'm lying to you. These are lies coming through my teeth. Of course, they were clueless and didn't think this through all the way. No one ever thinks anything through all the way in this sport. When I'm elected college football commissioner, it'll be different. In the meantime, here's what I would suggest. Go back to your divisions with a caveat. The divisions don't have to be the same divisions every year. I know this is radical in concept, but everything is in college football. The Big Ten West became so mired in mediocrity because the Big Ten West was the same schools every year. And therefore, everyone understood if the barometer is lowering, the bar is collectively lowering every year. We don't have to strive. We're not getting our head caved in like Penn State would in the Big Ten East if they performed at a comparable level to, let's say, an Iowa or a Minnesota. So the answer to that is return to a divisional format, but the division is changed every year. It's just randomized and changed every year, and you divide things up based on some kind of rubric that makes sense. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State on the same side like the Big Ten used to do, but I'd do it in all the conferences. The SEC is headed for like a biblical Armageddon type tie-breaking scenario in the last week of November / first week of December. And I can't wait to sit there because I will be Tom Hanks on the beach in Castaway, just raising my arms in the air as everything burns around me.
Moving logs around to spell SOS, and it's just a waste of your time.
Sorry, Tennessee.
I don't know if it's surprising is the right word to use here, but given how they were covered last year, where they were basically shoved down our throats for like 3 straight weeks on both of the pregame shows nationally on the 2 big networks, is it not standing out how odd it is that Colorado's actually a good team? They're going to have a Heisman finalist. They might have 2 Heisman finalists worthy of being in New York, and they have an opportunity in front of them to win the conference, and I feel like we don't hear about them. They're not put on every big-time television slot, and last year it was just like instantly for the first month of the season, Dion, primetime, Colorado, and it created some polarization. This year they're actually good. They've got a window here to go and win their conference, and I don't feel like I hear much about them. Are you surprised by this?
No, I am not. It validates one of my great working theories in the sport, and that is that a lot of people who cover college football really don't love the football aspect of it. They love the headline aspect of it. They love the drama. They really love scandal. I mean, that's why you have certain people who will jump right to the front of the line when something off the field happens, but you don't even remember ever reading a game recap story from them. They don't really care about the sport itself. So Colorado last year was really flashy, and there were headlines left and right, and then they built the bubble early in the season. Then the season popped, so you could both praise and then dunk on Deion, and that got a ton of traffic and a ton of engagement. Well, this year it's been kind of quiet. There aren't a ton of headlines. They're just going about their business. They're winning football games. To me, it is the story of college football this year. It's right up there with Indiana. It is the story of college football, considering who it is doing it and where that program has come from. And yet, I agree with you. I was thinking about this because we were talking about him on our show last night, and I was thinking to myself afterwards, when is the last time that I saw someone talk about Colorado, the college football team? I mean, I was in the gym yesterday, and I look up at the TVs, and they're on two of the respective, morning shows. And, I mean, the only way Colorado or Deion is getting coverage of that variety is, like, should Deion go to the Cowboys? Like, I can't even believe people watch that. It's unbelievable.
Amen, brother.
That is so true. I saw that too yesterday. I'm just like, this is all right. They might go to the college football playoff this year, which I love the way you said that on your show Sunday too. Like let that settle for a second. Colorado college football playoff. This very likely could happen.
Well, we need to be honest too. Like I think, Pate, you do a pretty good job. You admit where maybe some of your biases lean in terms of what you're talking about on the topics. I think if we're in a trust tree together, it's nothing, no disrespect to BYU or anybody else, but like I kind of need Colorado in the playoff. I need to see Hunter, Shador, Deion maybe host a playoff game or at least have a bye or whatever ends up working itself out. We all need Colorado in the playoff.
I need it like I need air to breathe.
Amen.
So if that's bias, then stamp me on the forehead. But yes, I would love to see it.
We believe now. Before we let you go, because we always appreciate your time, Oregon. Talk about scheduling, having to do something that I don't believe any other power school has done, and that is play 8 straight conference games without a bye. They haven't had a bye since their non-conference wrapped up. The second week in a row now they're playing a team that's coming off of a bye. Maryland last week, a little clunky. Now they're going on the road to Camp Randall, a team that I don't really know how to quantify. They had a stretch in the middle of the year where they looked dominant, and then the last time we saw them play, they lost like 42-10 to Iowa. Anything there, concern meter? Just your thoughts on Oregon going on the road to play the Badgers.
This is a spot that Oregon has been immune to so far this year. They have just thoroughly handled business. I think this is the biggest landmine on the Week 12 schedule, and having to do the cumulative travel, wear and tear, going over there again against a team that's rested. This is a spot where you should expect a one-game season effort from Wisconsin, total Super Bowl effort. No, they shouldn't be able to stack up. No, on paper, that doesn't make any sense. This is still college football. And even as consistent as Oregon has been this year, this is still the kind of spot where if you bring your C+ or B- game, you can get bitten. I'm paying very close attention to that game. I still think Oregon will win the game. But do not be fooled by how easily, like Alabama handled them earlier in the year. Totally different dynamic for this game on both sides.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I hate to do this, one more for you. We randomly brought up last week, I cooked some chili at my house, and I let the meat just cook all day in the crock pot. That created quite a blowback for me. When you use a crock pot, do you put the meat in raw and let it cook, or do you cook the meat before it goes in a crock pot?
Oh, I have no idea. I just get enough friends who know how to cook, and I outsource that part of my life.
Really?
Although I will say your meat has found out exactly what it feels like to be Florida State football this year, it sounds like.
On that note, Josh Pate, the commissioner of college football, every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock live on YouTube.
I feel like he has an Orlovsky diet.
I think he did a little bit.
Just I just eat chicken with nothing
bland
on
chicken.
it.
I mean, hey, it's a lot of protein.
It's protein. Yeah.
Catch podcasts wherever you find the podcast. We always appreciate the time, Josh, and look forward to the chat next week.
I appreciate it, guys.
There you go, Josh Pate. Josh Pate.
What a life! He just has other people cook for him.
Just outsource cooking.
That's
nice. It's a good problem to have, man.
He's always on the road, though, right?
Always on the road.
He's on the road.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of meals at the universities.
Yeah.
He gets,
He's going to Athens this weekend.
He gets comped by CBS.
Well, actually,
whoever.
depending on which university he's eating at, he might just be getting plain unseasoned chicken. Because some universities have a really nice spread for the press.
What do you think about our local spread? Can we be honest about this? Because Oregon State, the last time I went to a game as
food
a
in the
media
press
member,
box, you mean?
Oregon State's media meal was
Hot dog. I mean,
questionable hot dog, like a little greenish hue, and run-of-the-mill, not a good chili.
I'd say Oregon hits it like a 46% clip of like,
Yeah.
all right, that's not bad. And then sometimes you're like, oh.
Yeah, there's weeks where you're just like, well, I guess I'm not hungry today. Or I'll go
Yeah.
get some nachos or a hot dog downstairs.
I'll walk down to a concession stand.
But one thing Oregon does great is sometimes they will give the press box people a treat and just give you all regular hot dogs. So I've, been like, all right, I'll take one of those.
Yeah, Oregon State's best thing they've given media members, in my experience, has been like, hey, here's warm cookies.
Warm cookies is a delight.
Warm cookies,
especially on a cold November night.
At the end of the game.
The biggest danger in the press box is the soda machine and just like instant access. I go fill up like I just constant
Diet
just a
Cokes.
lot of Diet Cokes.
Sneaky,
sucking them back.
Sneaky best spread. I'm hoping they're still doing this. Is the Portland Timbers. I would do
I
their.
still haven't done a Timbers game as a media member.
I mean, I did game days way back a long time ago doing Saturdays and Sunday coverage for them, and I would just get the best, like we're talking salmon, burgers, full-on spread for breakfast.
Boise State had a good spread when I went and Oregon State played them one year for game day. They had a really nice spread set up in their press box.
You know what the Blazers make the press do? They make you pay. They charge. You have to get a ticket to get a meal if you're a press member for the Portland Trail
Yeah,
Blazers.
I'm not
Wait,
really.
what? That's how they're doing it now?
They've done that
they've
for
always done that.
years.
They used to have food lines at Blazer
No, they have
games.
food lines,
No,
but
no,
you
no,
had
no,
to get a
no.
ticket to
You
get
were
into
supposed-
that food line, Dirt.
I was going to say, you and I were not paying for meals
You
that we
guys
I
were
never
should
paid for a
have.
we
meal.
were supposed to.
They
Yeah.
charge media members
They
for
charge
food?
media members.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I am. I wish I were making that up, and they still can't offer a great experience for the fans.
The best food experience for post games in football and basketball that I've had is if you stay long enough as a media member, you get booze. They pass around
Ooh.
beers at Oregon State games. Eventually, the SIDs do, and I know at Blazer games there was always a guy in the post game
Yeah,
after the
eventually
pressers.
they tap a keg and
Yeah,
give
you
you some.
come in and
yeah.
you do your write-ups or your media or your audio, whatever. and
Why
there's
does the
beer.
binge drinking capital of Oregon and Corvallis not surprise me that they're popping beers even with the staff?
Win or lose, we booze, man. Win or
Yes,
lose, we
you
booze.
do.
That's the life philosophy. The Daily Ticker, as always, brought to you by our great friends at Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise your glass, drink on Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.